Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of our live reactions to NXT and AEW. I'm Matt, and with me, as always, is John. John, how are you doing this fine Wednesday?
Doing very well, Matt. This was a very fun wrestling night. I feel like both shows did pretty well tonight. And as you were probably as you were probably mostly manning NXT, and
Yep.
I was mostly manning
I
AEW
was, yep,
Dynamite.
as always, I was trying to watch both. I was watching both today.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, manning the NXT side of
Yeah.
the Wednesday night wars, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're gonna start off with Dynamite, and then obviously Matt, he's gonna be talking about NXT, and then after that we're going to be discussing Gallows and Anderson's Talking Shop podcast, which a lot of interesting things came out of that. So 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 we're going to be talking about that as well. All right, so we kick off AEW with Cody's TNT Open Challenge, which the company had been advertising as an independent pro wrestler. I'm like facing him, and it turned out to be Eddie Kingston, who is about an 18-year veteran. He has been most recently over in NWA, and has been over in other such companies as Impact and CZW and others. But he gets on the mic, and man, not too many guys better at cutting promos, in my opinion, right now. The one thing I've always appreciated about Eddie, it's just like everything just feels completely 100% authentic. It doesn't really feel like he's trying to portray a character. And here he just kind of talked about how he had been like grinding for ever since that he broke in, and talking about like Cody, and how he was just give and everything, um, so on and so forth, and and then he brings up Cody's TNT Open Challenge, and has said, like, you have faced like mostly kids, and not grown men, and like he said that that Tony Khan paid me to basically take you out. So then we get into this, which turned out to be a no DQ match, which honestly, even if they did it without this stipulation, I still thought these guys would have put on a pretty good match. This was pretty good, and like honestly, probably one of Cody's better open challenges, because for the most part, Matt, a lot of these here have been really hit and also miss, in my opinion. You just didn't know what you were going to get, and a ton of these I've for them have been hard to get interested in, but this had my attention, and this was very physical. Kingston, he was really selling his leg, and just a really a very hard hitting match. Eventually, thumbtacks they were eventually introduced. Which I'm kind of surprised that Cody actually took a freaking bump from that. I was fully expecting Eddie to be the one to take that bump, but this eventually ends with Cody retaining his title, and just a very good match. I would imagine this is probably a like one-off here, and just by the sounds of things, that's probably what happened there. Any thoughts on this?
The surprise announcement, I know for me fell flat because maybe I'm way out of the loop, but I don't know if I really heard of this guy before.
Well,
so when he came out, I was like, "Who the hell is this?"
Well, like my question to you about this, what were you kind of expecting? Because
I don't know, somebody else.
Okay, because like there's not exactly too many high profile independent wrestlers, so that would be
I never knew he was one either, so
yeah. So
I never heard of his name. Everybody's probably thinking somebody who is just free from WWE now.
Well, if they would have said like someone along of like those lines, I would be kind of.
Well, I guess people assume that it's a high independent thing. I think people make the connection that, well, people just got released from their contract or the no compete clause, so maybe that's where you're going. I don't know. At least for me, that it fell flat for me because I was like, who's this guy? I didn't hear the promo because I don't have the volume up, so I can't attest to his speaking skills, which everybody says he's good. So
he is like one of the best talkers.
I haven't really seen him, obviously, so I can't.
I'll send you a few, and like you can just find out for yourself. But then,
I got another quick thought.
Yeah.
I thought the thumbtack spot wasn't needed.
Yeah.
Because to me it didn't make sense in the timing of the spot more so than the thumbtacks, because it
could you be a little bit more? Yeah.
Because he gets power to me. Cody gets power bombed into the thumbtacks, right? And everybody's selling it, and then like a minute later he wins. Like almost like the thumbtack, he had the submission, almost like the thumbtacks didn't do anything. If it's like in the middle where he can overcome the pain, then to me it would work better than right smack at the end.
Yeah.
Besides that, from what I saw, this looked pretty damn good.
Yeah. That was probably my only criticism too.
That is my big gripe of the timing of the spot that didn't make sense. If this was sooner, then yes. It was like it happened, and then like I looked away to watch NXT, and then like Cody had the submission and won within, it seemed like a minute. I don't know, but that was my issue from what I saw.
Yeah, me as well. So then we have a promo by the AEW champion Jon Moxley, which basically he was just recapping everything that happened from like fight for the Fallen, basically saying like about Cage's arm that for the next time he just won't let go, and he will just shatter his bicep. So we had that, and then we had finally the return of MJF, which and I said this tonight. We need some form of direction with him, because this man has been essentially in like no man's land, has been essentially in like a no man's land for like the last 4 months now. Ever since that the pandemic has exactly has started. I just wish that we could like figure out, okay, are we doing him versus Moxley? Which I'm kind of hoping that is where they are going, because I don't know what they are doing with him. But for the he cut a promo for the match started against an enhancement talent named is Griff Garrison. He calls this dude Unlookum Jungle Man. He tells him he looks like that he couldn't graduate finger painting class. For some reason that came up. And he keeps on driving home.
I kind of get it. Maybe he looks young, that he's finger painting. That makes sense. I kind of like it.
Yeah.
It's funny.
And he keeps on driving home. The point, he is undefeated. He has never been pinned or submitted. That was very constant throughout this whole entire thing. And basically, this was just MJF just beating this guy within like an inch of his life. And it was funny. MJF, he's just beating him up, and like, and during the entire thing, he's just talking shit on the freaking mic. He's saying, "Hey Griff, say it. I'm undefeated. I am undefeated," because before the match started, Griff told him, "Hey, you guys lost at Firefest." That just made him just lose it. So that was the whole entire story here. Obviously, he wins. I did find it odd that for some reason that they were cutting to a commercial during a squash match, but whatever. So obviously MJF wins. I'm just hoping that sooner rather than later here we get some inkling as to what's going on with him, because I believe that we're only 5 or 6 weeks away from All Out. So that's creeping up pretty close here. So Matt, and any thoughts on that at all, or did you catch any of this here?
But not really. I mean, I saw a little bit. I really don't have any like major thoughts, to be honest.
Yeah, nothing really happening here. Then we had a backstage segment with Britt Baker, Tony Schiavone, and Reba. Basically, Britt was just laying down her role model roles and stuff, and apparently she doesn't know the exact history of like a Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan. It's very disappointing. But basically, they're starting to build up to her eventual return, which it looks like it's going to be at All Out. I would assume that's.
Didn't she say that like something at the very end about All Out?
Yeah, it looks like they're probably are doing her versus Big Swole here. They have been building this up for like the last month or 6 weeks here. So it's really the only match that really makes any sense. Very, very entertaining segment here. I mean, she's just consistently selling the point of her constantly being beat up and like mistreated and so on. So it's pretty much more of the same from her, but also very entertaining as well here. Then we have a promo by Taz here, which these are quickly like some of the most entertaining stuff every single week. Taz says that after he threw in the towel, Cage was really pissed off, and him and Cage had some very loud conversations, and there was a point where Cage considered firing Taz, which makes a ton of sense because if you are a freaking monster like Cage, who was never going to tap or submit, like that's a genuine reaction. So I really like that. But he said cooler heads have prevailed, and he said he made a business decision with that whole thing. He did not want Cage on the shelf for another 6 months with a torn bicep, and he said Cage, he will never be in that position ever again. And Cage and Taz, he really put over Moxley for his grit and his toughness here. So then eventually we have Darby Allin come down, and he is planning to go after Cage, but then Ricky Starks comes out and beats Darby Allin with badly. Like he beat the crap out of him. And
This
Cage
is another.
both.
Was Ricky Starks on AEW before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, I totally forgot about him.
Yeah. He was. He answered Cody's open challenge about 4 weeks ago. But
I don't remember that. Maybe it's one of those I didn't see.
Yeah. Well,
probably. Because this was another thing of like, oh, who's this guy? For me,
pay attention, damn it.
Well, it was
pay attention. When I talk about this, Matt, I expect you to have details of the shit. Shame on you. Shame.
I'm sorry. I'm focused mainly on NXT. It's probably one of those shows I didn't watch because of I don't know, whatever. I stole this no name. I'm sorry, my Jim Cornette's coming out. I'm sorry.
His name is Ricky Starks.
What did I say?
Write that down. Write that down right now. Ricky Starks with a Y. Ricky with a Y.
What? How else would you spell it?
Hey, some people are
Ricki.
like
He's not a girl.
Okay, but
Ricky.
Anyways, but it looks Starks. Like now Ricky Starks has now turned. He is now turned heel and is now apparently a part of Taz and Cage's stable. I really like this. It gives at the very least Ricky something to actually do, and okay, man, being associated with Taz is not a very bad thing. So while him and Cage are beating down on Allin, like Moxley, he comes out and he makes the save here, and it was announced for next week. We will be having a tag team match: Darby Allin and Jon Moxley versus Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. So that was made official by Tony Khan. So then we get an announcement, and I have very, very, very mixed feelings about this. And this is a caveat.
I laughed at this because I knew your reaction.
This better be like what NXT does with the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. If they make freaking tag team titles, women's tag team titles, out of this 16-woman 8-team tag team tournament, which they are tagging this as the Deadly Draw, which is happening this summer. So I think the concept, it's a good concept to try and build up some more women within the women's division here. However, they barely have enough women for singles
I don't think they have enough for 16.
Right.
I think somebody said 10.
Um,
Actively on the roster, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. So they're probably just signing just like per appearance people who haven't
probably like they
them.
like WWE with cruiserweight, which is fine.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So
we'll
that's the whole caveat here because because tag teams as far as with the women are concerned should be the sort of the last thing that this company should be thinking of, especially when they don't really have any contenders for Hikaru Shida. So I'm hoping that is what they have in mind more than anything.
I have to step away real quick. Just continue with AEW. I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So then we have a promo by the Inner Circle, which they are building up to tonight's main event, which is Chris Jericho and Jake Hager versus the Jurassic Express. So basically, Chris says, that his $7,000 jacket, which was once white, is now orange and smells like orange juice. He says that he will ruin Orange Cassidy's career, and he talks that about like Jungle Boy laughing and getting in like his way, and he says Luchasaurus, he's not a real dinosaur. Shocking, I'm sure, to a lot of few people there. So then we have Butcher and Blade versus the Bucks in a false count anywhere match, which this was crazy. Just a lot. Well, first of all, this thing started in the back where Butcher and Blade are cutting up some meat, which is fitting because Butcher and the Blade. But basically they start in the very back, and basically Rick Knox, he comes back there, and that's where they start the actual match. So one of the first things, or it was like about 3 minutes in there. So I think it was Matt Jackson. He was jumping off from inside of a 16 wheeler, and you see a sign inside of the you see a sign in the hey man, we're talking about the tag team match between Airbnb versus the Bucks here. And so I believe it was Matt Jackson. He's inside of an 18 wheeler, and he's about to do a leg dive on to Butcher, and all you see is a small sign inside of the truck that says a mud show. so I get a pretty good pop out of that there, but eventually this gets back into like ringside, and man, one of the most brutal spots in this match, Matt, was Blade just did a nasty dive where he was supposed to, I think, hit a table, and he missed everything.
Oh yeah, I saw
and that looked like it hurt. So I was like,
freaking yeah. Whoops a daisy.
Yeah. Eventually, this match ends with a double table spot, and that's how the match ends. Very good match. A very fun match, and a very physical one at that. So So yeah,
I
so there could yeah.
I'm sorry. I like how there was conveniently tables in the entranceways.
Actually,
At the end there. Are we talking about the same? Yeah.
yeah. They
because
they
I
like
don't think
set that up though. They
they put
set
those
that up.
they put those tables in the entranceway. I mean, like in the tunnels.
I thought you were talking
Oh yeah, that yeah,
outside.
obviously.
Yeah,
No, but
yeah,
it just felt like it was just
yeah,
conveniently. There was two tables there conveniently. Okay.
yeah. Well,
Other
it
than that, I'm just like,
has the worst thing. Yeah. But
it's like,
yeah,
huh, okay.
very good match. Continuing to like build up on these guys for eventually between FTR versus these guys. So very good match. Then we have Lance Archer beating up some more guys backstage. And one really funny spot here, Matt. He launches a dude right into the freaking top ceiling tile, and that thing just like a flopped. Was hilarious. But yeah, I would like to see where things are actually going with Archer. He's been kind of doing the same thing. He beat up Joey Janela in a like match where he sold way too much. But yeah, I don't know where things are going for him yet. So hopefully something sooner rather than later. Then we get a singles match between Eve Elise versus Diamante, which I'm hoping to God that this company signs both of these women here. Both of these ladies have been essentially everywhere. Eve Elise, she was actually on the Stone Cold Steve Austin Tough Enough season, if you
Yeah.
if you recall. Just they need feuds for Shida. They have nobody right now. So and as for the match itself, it was okay. It was kind of odd though. For some reason they had just a very random big swole promo. I have no idea why they had that show during
Yeah.
this match
I
here.
didn't remember that.
That
Yeah.
made just no sense whatsoever. But eventually Diamante wins with a quick roll up. And after this, Tony Khan, he made official for next week in a like non-title match, Hikaru Shida versus Diamante. So yeah, that I'm very interested to see how that will go. So yeah, I mean, hell, we need some we need some faces here. So hopefully that is is the beginning of something there. All right, then we have Hangman Page versus Five. I'm not joking. That's his name.
I call him El Generico. Looks like him.
Yeah, I saw that. This thing went on way too long.
A break.
Yeah. I'm like, just beat the guy up. Which essentially, Hangman. That's all that he was essentially doing. And by the way, Hangman's strikes are just such a beautiful thing to watch. Just seeing him just kick people's asses is just fun. For me, anyways. So eventually, Hangman he wins. We then get a promo by like a fake Vince, and he basically offers Brody Lee the a spot in the Dark Order, and he said, "We of the Dark Order, we would never leave you unprotected." And he was talking about that since there was about like 5 people of the Dark Order on top of the stage there. So then basically Hangman says, "Sorry, I'm not interested in being in any sort of a cult and this pissed off I think Vince, and then he sent off the guys to basically beat down Hangman, which Hangman was kicking a lot of ass, but eventually too many guys. And so then who comes down and saves them, Matt? It's FTR, and eventually Kenny finally comes down. So they're still playing up that whole storyline of Hangman and FTR being friends, and Kenny just becoming more and more paranoid about everything. So I'm really interested to see what's going to happen when these guys do finally lose those titles, which could be a very compelling storyline. And it was also made official for next week. Kenny and Hangman, they will be defending their tag team titles against the Dark Order of Evil, Uno, and Stu Grayson. So yeah, Matt. I don't think that these guys are going to be losing yet, but I do feel like
I didn't even know they deserve a title shot yet.
Yeah, that's kind of weird, but I'm very interested to see who they actually drop these titles to. I mean, to me, the only real team that they should drop those titles to is FTR.
Mm-hmm.
And with All Out only being, I think, like 5 or 6 weeks away, I'm not sure if they have FTR win those titles from them yet. Because I do think that they're going through with FTR versus Matt and like a Nick. So, do you think that they drop these titles before All Out or at All Out?
I would do it at All Out. I think it's bigger.
Yeah,
because it's a bigger moment. I don't think you.
Yeah, I was thinking for the longest time that it would definitely be for sure before then, but it's gotta be it's gotta be on that show, just because as far as actual build, just seems like it like makes more sense. Just because if you're going to build up FTR and the Bucks for those titles, to me that needs to be a like 3, 4, or even a 5-week build.
Yeah.
Which so we're kind of getting closer and closer on time there. So then this eventually gets us to the main event of the evening, which is a tag team match of the Inner Circle, Chris Jericho and Jake Hager versus the Jurassic Express of Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. So basically, this whole thing was pretty much like Jungle Boy. He was getting a ton of shine here. I mean, it's pretty clear, and we have been saying this for quite some time. AEW is really high on Jungle Boy. He's the clearest. He's the clearest star of this group. So very good here. Nothing else to really talk about. Just a pretty basic a pretty basic match here. And eventually we get some like strange masked person attack Luchasaurus, which I had never seen before, and of course Excalibur knew this guy. Apparently he had been on like Dark, and it's later revealed who is it, Matt? It's Sammy Guevara. He is now back after a like month or 2-month suspension from his comments about Sasha Banks from a 2016 podcast. So I'm very interested to see what this reaction is going to be. yeah, with this. Were you surprised that they had him back this soon, or do you?
I thought it was. To me, it felt long enough. I don't know. When did he get suspended?
I want to say it was at least 4 weeks ago. At the very least, it was 4 weeks ago.
I don't know. It felt longer than that. I guess it's. I guess it's fine. I almost not forgot about him, but that's not. It's not. That's not true. But I don't know. I think it could be time.
I mean, like, I just feel with the whole entire thing. Yes, it was something really dumb and really stupid that he said, and there is zero room for anything regards to that. However, this was 4 years ago, and yes, it was dumb, but he was clearly very sorry and very for everything that he had done. Sasha forgave him, so
They've had a discussion,
right? So, like, let the guy try and redeem himself. So that's how the show ends, and it was me. Oh, and after this, the inner circle is just beating down on the Jurassic Express, and then eventually Orange Cassidy and the best friends come out, and it was made official for next week, a 5-on-5 tag team match between the inner circle versus the Jurassic Express and the best friends. So that was made official for next week, and that was AEW Dynamite. There, Matt.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then let's get into NXT. So we opened the show. They teased the big announcement. Regal came on and said Keith Lee wanted some time to address the NXT universe. Which he goes on and says he's going to enjoy being limitless, but he doesn't want to limit anyone else. So he says he's going to continue to defend the NXT title, but relinquish the North American Championship. But he wants everybody to have the same opportunities that he had moving up through NXT. And then Regal announces series of triple threat matches where the winners will go on to take over. Says here on August 22nd, so pretty much the night before SummerSlam.
Yeah, that night before SummerSlam.
And a ladder match to crown the new North American champion. And the first triple threat match tonight was Roderick Strong versus Johnny Gargano and Bronson Reed, the big boy. So that was going to be later on in the night.
Yeah. When I first heard this, man, I didn't know how I felt, because I felt like that this was kind of anticlimactic as far as how to strip Keith Lee. I thought that they would want to have someone beat him for that. So this was just a little bit surprising, but at the same time too, they probably did not want him losing or anything.
Yeah.
So,
I think I think that's the best way to go in terms of
I mean, that was kind of
what they booked.
Yeah, which that was kind of why I wasn't a big fan when they did him and Cole versus title versus title winner take all, because like, because regardless of who actually wins, I mean, like, one of those titles is going to have to be taken away, and obviously you aren't going to have the guys get actually pinned. So it's like they kind of book themselves into a bit of a corner there, to where this was really the only thing that they could do.
unless Cole finally gets called up, and that's the way to get him away without.
Right.
I don't know. Really, it's a way to pass the torch, and I don't know. But anywho, so that was made to the first match that was advertised. We had Dexter Loomis versus Killian Dain. Decent match between the two. I mean, Dexter Loomis, at least to me, always impresses me week in and week out. To me, I think he's getting better.
It's the best character probably on NXT outside of Karrion Kross. Right now.
Yeah, so he's working good. He wins by submission. With submission as Dain. He doesn't tap out. He passes out. So we go backstage, and there's an interview with Roderick Strong. He's talking about winning the triple threat match and how winning the title can help Undisputed Era get back on top. Then Bronson Reed interrupts, says some stuff. So does Johnny Gargano. And it pretty much hyping the triple threat match later tonight. Then we get a tag team match between Everrise versus Breezango. Everrise, it was mentioned, were Canadian team, so that's why the Breezango came out dressed as the Monty with the Monty theme. I had a good chuckle. No, all right match. Another pretty much a match for Breezango to get over, to enhance them. Wasn't a squash match by any means, but solid match.
Pretty damn close, I would imagine.
It was an AEW squash match.
So it wasn't a squash match then.
Right. I mean, as it should be, but it went probably longer than you probably thought. Even though Everrise got some crap in, but it was Breezango winning with two double super kicks for the win. So yeah, then we have there was a backstage interview with Dominik Dijakovic talking about how Kross attacked him and saying that he's 100% this week and he's going to get pretty much the best of him. He goes on to threaten to leave Kross unconscious tonight, which is ironic, foreshadowing, and we'll get into that. Then we get Aaliyah versus Shotzi Blackheart, which another decent match. Shotzi gets the win with a diving senton. After the match, Robert Stone, I forget what led up to it, but he's like laying on the mats outside on the floor, and Shotzi, that bitch, runs over the other foot of Robert Stone. He's going crazy. Then Mercedes Martinez comes from the stage and attacks Shotzi from behind, walks off.
Is Shotzi kind of hokey?
I tweeted this out. I like her in the ring. She's good in the ring, but like
her whole character is just,
she's like a crazy person. Not crazy person. I don't know. The stuff she yells out, I don't know, it hasn't won me over yet, but she's just kind of that rebel, like loner person. If you get where I'm coming from, like she's just her own crazy thing. Not emo is that's not the right thing, but like that punk. Yeah, that's it. That's what I get from her. So yeah, Mercedes attacks and Stone's like, thank you, but he acts shocked, like there wasn't supposed to happen.
I finally found somebody.
Pretty much. So we'll get back to that in a minute. Then we got a Isaiah Swerve Scott vignette. He's talking about his music career and his wrestling career, a little bit more of a background on him, comparing the two. And he gets into saying Escobar said that the cruiserweight division needed a leader. Swerve points out that he's the only one that beat him in NXT so far during that tournament, and says he will be the next cruiserweight champion. So might as well vignette for Scott there. Then we get to the triple threat match between Strong, Gargano, and Reed, which easily was, in my opinion, match of the night on NXT, and arguably you can make an argument match of the night for both shows, in my opinion, because this was just damn good.
I would say between that and probably Pucks and Airbnb were pretty damn close. Both of them were really good.
Yeah, I mean, we can make an argument. We could be here all night for that. There was one unique spot. I mean, this was Bronson Reed's coming out party, in my opinion. Phenomenal. There was a good spot I don't think I've ever seen before. If I did, I don't remember. Bronson had, I forget who it was. I want to say Gargano, one of the two. Like, he was standing above them over their bodies, and he had them, and the other guy comes and kind of tries to do a monkey flip on the other guy, and the other guy's head goes right into Bronson's area, which was pretty cool. Right in the nuts. I thought that was a decent spot. I mean, this was just a phenomenal match. If anything, to go back and see this they just went balls to the wall. Go ahead.
No, I'll say it after.
Okay.
After you.
So the ending of this match, Gargano hits the one final beat DDT, goes for the cover, but Reed hits a big splash off the top rope and gets the win. The only bad thing for that I noticed on the replay is that you saw Reed going up to the top rope, like as the DDT was happening, like he knew Roderick Strong was going to be in the right spot.
So basically, he was waiting for him. Essentially,
it wasn't too long, but it wasn't too long, but like you saw the camera angle, you saw the DDT happening, and he's already climbing up. It wasn't like he was climbing up and he just waited.
Right.
It wasn't that long, but I don't know. Maybe the camera I didn't notice it live. Maybe the replay camera angle was not the best one. But besides that, that's my only gripe. This was phenomenal. They just destroyed the house, just tore the house down. If there was a crowd, they would have lost their minds. So Bronson Reed wins, and he's in the ladder match at TakeOver. Then we get a rematch between Orny Lorcan and Timothy Thatcher. I'm sorry.
By the way, man. So I actually like that they actually put over Bronson Reed because
yes,
to me they really need to establish some new faces because in my opinion, having either Johnny or like a Roddy winning that title again, I don't feel really does anything for the title, and especially with how many guys that they're more than likely are going to be losing. You need to try and establish some more guys here, and this would definitely constitute as that here.
He looked good. He's a good big man. Yeah. So we have Lorcan and Thatcher. Another good match between the two. Just old school ground and pound, like I tweeted out. It's this day and age is unique because everybody high flies and stuff. So it was another good match. Lorcan had Thatcher in a again, I couldn't think it wouldn't happen. What's Lesnar's it's a submission move with the arm. Kimura. There you go. Like, oh my god. It looked like something kind of like that in a way Lorcan had on Thatcher. Maybe not exactly like that, but Thatcher
something similar.
Yeah, it was very similar. But the way it was set up, Thatcher kind of like rolled over a little bit, and as it was applied, got the pin for that, and kind of had a little bit of the tights with his other arm that was free. So Thatcher wins that rematch there, and he was selling the arm as he was getting up the ramp. Another good match between the two. Backstage, we had an interview with Robert Stone and Aaliyah. Stone says an interview is the last thing he needs right now. He's all upset with 2 feet being run over. Then Mercedes Martinez walks over. Stone's like, thank you. And she says, listen, I need someone to do all the crap she doesn't care about, like setting up fights and all the paperwork and all that stuff outside the ring, so she can focus on what she does best inside the ring. Fighting people, kicking people's asses. Because if you screw me or like act out of line, I'm gonna make sure I break both your legs. And he agrees. They shake hands, and she walks away, and he's all happy. And as Aaliyah tries to help him up to celebrate, he gets hurt and falls back down, selling injuries. So we have more Mercedes doing something, starting a feud with Shotzi, which I'm okay with.
Also too, this allows her to be just kind of silent and not exactly talk, which is fine. I'm not sure if he exactly fits her persona.
Yeah, it's going to be.
It's kind of weird to me.
It's kind of yin and the yang there.
Right.
You have like somebody. I'm interested.
A comedy gimmick to
to somebody serious who it might work. I'm interested to see how it plays out. Like I don't want to say I'm comparing this, but right up, like I just thought, like you had Brother Love and Undertaker. You had two opposites. Nothing like these two, but like I think obviously Paul Bear was the better fit, but you got stuff like that. It somehow might mesh. Like he does all the stupid stuff and be the mouthpiece. Well, she just goes in the ring, kicks ass, takes names, and leaves. So I'm interested, and then eventually she can turn on him down the road. Who knows? Obviously, that's probably going to happen.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
But I'm interested to see how this goes from now. As long as she's get a good build, because she's a monster. She's the new Shayna Baszler in NXT.
And they are going to be needing some more heels for EO to actually face. She's definitely one of them.
Yeah, because she's facing Dakota Kai eventually. Then it was announced the next triple threat match next week: Dexter Loomis, Finn Balor, and Timothy Thatcher. Finn Balor had a little vignette before this, saying he feels sorry for Timothy Thatcher and Loomis because their chances go through him or something like that along the lines.
Yeah,
and that the NXT, North American Championship needs that Finn Balor rub. I think he used that.
Yeah, I don't know how you don't put either Thatcher or Loomis over here. I just don't think with like Finn that he exactly needs his title, but at the same time too, he is pretty directionless right now on top of that. So
he's that star. I think it depends We don't know what the other triple threat match is, or how many other triple threats, how many people are going to be in this title match. I can see, depending who else, he could be like the one star power in the match, like that big name. And then eventually he doesn't have to necessarily win the title. Maybe feud with the person who wins. Something like that. Like maybe the face, whoever cost him, and something along the lines of that. So that continues. So I don't know exactly who would win, but I would say one. I think my pick would be Balor, followed by Loomis. In my opinion.
I mean, and kind of the problem is two out of these like three guys have been really built up for the last month on NXT. So
yeah, Balor. Well, yeah, Balor. I think it's probably COVID stuff, but he still has the name. If it was like anybody else, it's hard. But like, at least for this triple threat, there's like the two people up and coming, and you have that veteran in Balor. So I guess it works. And they, like you said, they've built up Loomis and Thatcher the last couple weeks. I mean, they've been obviously prominent on TV. Balor, obviously, with probably COVID, lesser extent, which is a shame. But the show goes on. So we'll see what happens. Should be, I would expect it to be another good triple threat match. So that's another thing to look forward to next week. Then we get into the main event between Karrion Kross and Dominik Dijakovic. Damn entrance. I'll always say it. It just looks so good. Scarlett is just I just look forward to, and not sound like a creep, but what she wears every week, because it's different and it just works heavenly. So good. Well, yeah, but just to fit her character, just a creepy, like,
she's always been very creative with her.
It works.
Attire. I mean, even when she was over on Impact, she was very specific with a lot of
she just has the look.
She's a freaking star, man. Like, I so wanted her to sign over with AEW, just because, like, I feel like she could be someone that you could build a whole entire division around. Honestly, the only real downside to her, she's not a great wrestler, but she's great everywhere else.
I think she's, at least from, I haven't really seen her work, but like as a valet manager, she's got it. She's got it. If Triple H or Vince, I don't know how you don't look at those two and see money.
Vince takes one look at her and Karrion Kross, he's going to fall in love with her.
He probably already seen them, but like, I don't know, like, that is just that look, like that, the Mania entrance. There's how usually we gauge, like, walking, like, oh my god, like, if they don't screw that up, oh my god.
And to me, she has way more charisma than a Lana did. When her and Rusev were like at the very top of their game. I just feel like that she
Lana's character doesn't. Scarlett just has that creepy. It's just the creepy. She has the facials, like everything works. Like, like she comes off that TV screen. Lana's good in her own right with that, but Scarlett, it's a different level of just charisma. And then Karrion Kross, like, they barely say anything, minus maybe a couple words here or there, especially last week with backstage. Like, they don't need to say anything, man. That the TikTok and the hourglass, like,
and that's why Karrion Kross is such a great character. He can say so much with just just a like stare,
and then Scarlett does the rest.
Right, exactly. It's
so it's just so good. One of the best parts each week, with each show, arguably. So this match, I mean, another good match. I think this is right behind the triple threat in match of the night. This was hard hitting. Dominic was getting Kross the most adversity he's seen yet so far.
Which he should have.
Yes,
which he should have.
Yes.
Because I
he's
believe
established name.
Well, and on top of that, I think he's really the first guy at Kross's size,
right? Yeah,
that he's faced because he hasn't faced Keith Lee yet.
No, yeah, and Dominic has gone toe to toe with Keith Lee, so he's got the reputation. He's a good worker.
Exactly.
Obviously he's good in the ring. There's a spot they get outside, and I think Karrion Kross put like his Dominic's shoulder or head and like the bottom of the bottom step or in between the step, and it goes over and like kicks the step and like pretty much like almost knocks him out. And how still I don't know how that's not a DQ in wrestling. But regardless, so he carries pretty much the lifeless Dominic into the ring, and kind of gets on top of him and starts just slowly beating him with arms, elbows, and stuff. It's like almost at the end of like an MMA fight when somebody's got him down on top of him, just beating him. But this is very a slower, methodical. Instead of if MMA you're finishing, just beating him rapidly.
Right.
This is a slow and methodical. And then eventually Keith Lee comes down at the ringside. Can't really do anything. And Dominic looks at him and pretty much says, "Stay away. This is on me. This is my time." Like Lee wants to do something, but Dominic keeps telling him, no, as he's just getting his ass beat. And then finally, well, as this is happening, Kross is asking Lee if he's watching, and then applies the cross-jacket submission, and Dominic passes out, and Karrion Kross wins. Man, this is the ending of this match. People saying good storytelling at its finest. I don't know if this is how you write Dijakovic out, if the rumors of him getting caught up are true.
I don't know what else you can possibly do with him in NXT at this point. But I do think that this was probably his last match in NXT here.
Once that stair spot happened, I immediately went to, okay, this is how they're gonna write him off. But like, just I thought this was well done. Like, just that the confliction on Lee's face, whether to do anything after like Dominic, like it's like his last dying breath. It's like, no, I think he said something like, my hourglass is ran over. So but I don't know, it was good. I would another thing to go and go back and watch at least highlights of this match and especially the ending. It was just Karrion Kross looked like just a sick badass at the end. So that was a good ending to NXT with Kross and Scarlett on the entranceway. Scarlett's like that creepy laugh, Kross looking intense, and Lee holding, trying to help out Dominic in the ring. which is who's basically lying there dead.
Mhm.
Just I don't know. It was a good ending, a good way to close out, a good visual on the show. So that was NXT. Yeah, I think both shows pretty solid overall.
As far as like Dynamite, this might have been one of my favorite episodes of the pandemic era. Just it just flowed really
Yeah.
well. I felt.
Yeah, it seemed like would you say the first hour was better than the second?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
By far. By far.
So okay. Because I was thinking, because I did notice it's like the first hour just seemed like you just had boom, boom, boom. A lot of couple
Mhm.
people were saying that. I saw maybe not a
Mhm.
lot, but I'm going to be interested to see I always say the quarterlies, how the second half of because I'm going to presume if anything at
First
minimum
hour,
here,
I think
I think
I think like first hour
ZW, yeah,
AEW probably kicked NXT's ass. I will be very surprised if
and then I think
second hour.
the second hour can be closer. A
Well, because
toss up.
too mad. Because at the same time that the triple threat was happening was at the same time of 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 the false count anywhere match between the Bucks and Airbnb. So
I thought
that's gonna be very interesting to see how
I
those.
thought the Evil East match was
I think
was there a
I think they were.
crossover
Yeah, there was probably a small crossover, but I do
or
recall
was it the
that was.
Thatcher Lorcan? I can't remember. Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. That second half
It
is
might have been
interesting.
them. Yeah.
Because I'd like to see how the cross match went against Jericho and them. How the triple threat did. But I would expect AEW to win at least the first 4 quarters. Which I think the first quarter might be close because the announcement teased. Probably drop off the AEW and then probably NXT in the second hour. You probably see viewers probably go back up and get close
Mhm.
to AEW. I don't
Mhm.
know if they beat any segments, maybe, possibly.
I think
That's going
the
to be
only one. I think the only one that probably that they might be was with the carrying cross.
yeah the triple
A
yeah
match. Maybe
this
maybe the triple
triple
threat,
threat
but
at
yeah,
the
I'm
second
not
half.
sure.
I don't know. I don't know how that lines off. I would say that
Honestly, man, I think we're going to start to see at least for the next few weeks of Dynamite is going to be winning these ratings or even from the total viewers. I'm kind of seeing that's at least for the foreseeable future. Now, as far as I take overbuild, which between them and all out are basically a week or two apart from each other. So we're going to be getting some really good shows.
you know
Coming up here.
I would expect
End of the
NXT,
month.
at the very least NXT to go up from their rating last week.
Mhm.
Uh, if it I expect it to be closer. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. So let's get in this the podcast here.
Oh yeah, Matt. So basically, on like Monday, I sat down and watched this full 2 hour podcast. And one of the funnier things, though, Matt, was freaking Gallows. He was getting drunker and drunker the longer that this thing was going on, and they were just burying everyone. It was hilarious. He was drinking freaking red wine with this giant
Red wine.
with this giant jug, and I'm like, oh yeah, he definitely going to be a little bit drunk there. But man, this was a very, I felt like sad for these guys definitely because we got an insight as to their whole like mindset and basically how things fell through with AEW and everything. Um, but we'll start from the very beginning here. They first talked about basically when they first signed with WWE, which basically came when WWE was interested in AJ Styles, and it was like a little bit after that. They Anderson found out, hey, they are also interested in signing you, because if you recall, Matt, they didn't sign, I think, officially until like the summer of 2016, and
Yeah, it was something like that.
yeah, because AJ, he came in obviously at the
Rumble.
at the Rumble there.
I can't believe it's been that long ago.
Right. But
pour that out there.
But they were saying though that even like 3 months into their actual deal, they were already looking and waiting for their contracts to be up, because they said, like, do you recall that SmackDown where they had that like Halloween
I believe
street fight, and they had like Anderson had that freaking pumpkin on his head or whatever, and
one of them, like, I think so,
he was like, what have we done? Like, even at that point, he was Anderson was already thinking about their exit, which is pretty telling for that whole thing. But like, eventually when the AEW stuff came up about, supposedly they were kept in a loop because obviously they are really tight with the Elite, Bucks, Kenny, and Cody, and all of those guys, since obviously they were all in the Bullet Club over in Japan there, and they got inkling of AEW being a thing like right before 2019, that they had heard like rumblings and such. So basically they were staying in constant contact, and to where Anderson and Gallows basically told the Elite and them, like, hey, we are not resigning. We're definitely coming. And they said this for a good 6 or 7 months. And then came that one faithful Japan tour, where just by chance Triple H is added to that tour, and they're involved in some like 8-man tag over there, because for weeks, between him and the execs have been trying to get these guys to sign new deals, because obviously when AEW became a thing, the WWE was just trying to lock down every single person whose contracts were coming up. I mean, if you recall too, Matt, they were offering huge raises, double the raises, just to get guys locked in 5-year contracts. But even at that point, Anderson said they had no desire in coming back, just because they had done essentially nothing with them. And whenever they did get booked, they were booked as freaking nobodies. And that has been a big issue. And they've talked about just how that the whole creative process in the company, and you've heard this from guys such as Moxley, and EC3, and Chris Jericho, the list goes on and on, FTR and such. So eventually Triple H gives them the freaking line of, think about your family. It's no guarantee that AEW will last. And to preferences too, this was before that that the company re-upped with TNT. So there was still some question at how successful that the company was going to actually be. And Triple H said, WWE will always be here, which is very funny looking at that right now.
Yeah, I mean, but I think I said this to you at one point. I don't know if it was on the podcast. I mean, in a way, he's right. like if you look at it, even the way he's right, I mean, he's technically not wrong. I mean, it's a decent selling point because AEW wasn't, you don't know.
Nope. And two, for Anderson, he like has 5 kids, and he's in like his mid-30s. So he was thinking about his family, and they made a business decision because it was pretty clear they did not want to resign, but they just got offered cash that they could not turn down. But the thing was that really pissed off the Elite was, that they had been telling them for months that they definitely are coming in, and they felt so confident, Matt, that they laid out opening Dynamite Creative and told them, hey, we have planned for you guys to join the inner circle with Chris Jericho. Like,
I think that would have been better.
They would have been in that group, which to me, that would have been a lot better for that whole entire group. But when they got wind of this, there was some major heat, and supposedly Kenny still hasn't forgiven Gallows and Anderson, and supposedly it was one of the Bucks told Rocky Romero, who was also on this podcast with them. He said, like, how stupid are these guys? They just screwed themselves. And which they were kind of right, but I completely understand both sides here. I understand with the Bucks being pissed because they had been told for so long that they were definitely coming in, but at the same time, Gallows and Anderson are thinking about their families. They just couldn't turn down those contracts.
Yeah. And was it before or after? I can't say. I would mix up my day. Was this before or after when they signed? They were with AJ. So they would be with AJ before their contracts were up.
Wait. I'm saying that.
When they became the club officially.
Right? That was after. That was after that they had to sign those contracts.
Okay, I can't say I can't remember. I forget the timeline here.
Yeah,
but
so basically,
it was working out.
It was, and
initially,
and then like basically as soon as they signed those deals and they won the tag titles, I think in like a month, and then they were pretty much just like they were pretty much back to exactly where they were. And like both of them were just so regretful, even though they made a lot of money. I mean, like you could tell just from a fun and a creative aspect, these guys just hated doing what they had to do. And obviously they said if they had to do it all over again, obviously they would choose signing with AEW, because apparently they were offered some really good deals by not only AEW but also Impact and New Japan as well. So they had all sorts of leverage on top of that, which it just sucks. Just I mean, for them, they just felt that they just essentially cave in. And one thing I didn't understand though, Matt, like they essentially signed these deals right on that Japan tour, which I'm like saying to myself, why would you not at least like wait that out or talk with your family or your lawyer and not just do it on the freaking whim? And that's what happened. And you could tell from both of those guys, they just regretted doing that.
I think one of it was one of those situations. The money just talks for you. I mean,
yeah.
I see. It's hard. I think it's easy to question it since we're not in their shoes. It's hard to say. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you get paid all that money and do what they do and somewhat easy. I don't know. I mean, I'm not them. So yeah, very Yeah, it's interesting stuff coming out of their podcast.
Yeah. And another thing that was very apparent too, confirming everything that AJ said, they hate Paul Heyman. Like
That's
like,
putting it one way.
holy shit! Like Gallows was like swearing up a freaking storm, basically saying fuck you, Heyman, for basically calling him a lying piece of shit. Basically,
Didn't he say? Heyman said, "If I ever lie to you, call me out and tell me it's that they did it."
Mm-hmm. Which
It's
is
like Heyman already knows.
Yeah, which shouldn't be a big surprise because as everyone knows, Heyman has been famous for being a very notorious bullshitter. Hell, I'm not sure if you recall from Cornette's podcast, but they asked him, FTR, who is a bigger bullshitter between Heyman and
Bruce.
and like Bruce. So like that has always been there. So like when they signed these deals, I'm like, you guys had to have known once you put ink on those contracts, you knew what your fates were. So at that point, it was kind of hard for me to feel sorry from that creative aspect, just because like this is how Vince does everything. And as far as when those guys got fired, which AJ was livid. Like Anderson was talking, like basically he went straight up to like Vince, which I find this hilarious, by the way. That Vince basically said that Heyman recommended firing them, which I'm like saying, okay, AJ, Gallows, and Anderson, no one gets fired without Vince signing off on it. Like I just find it extremely hard to believe.
Unless Heyman just convinced Vince to make it official. I don't know.
Maybe, but like
there's BS somewhere in this.
Right, like someone is clearly lying, because I just think with like Vince, he probably
he's blaming Heyman.
Well, I think too that someone probably told him about their contracts, which, by the way, like there's a lot of loose some freaking lips in that company, man. Like because Anderson, he was talking like somehow everyone knew what both him and Gallows were exactly making, which to me is really unprofessional on like who's ever leaking out these freaking details, because too, you know for a fact Gallows and Anderson aren't saying a damn thing. So that just really baffled me.
Yeah.
And they were asked about the whole Saudi incident, Matt, if you recall, when they were basically stuck there forever, and supposedly this all turns back to the Saudis not paying Vince, and basically, I mean, a lot feel like this was done as a scare tactic more so than anything, which I absolutely subscribe to, because supposedly one of the I think it was one of the camera guys or the producers told Gallows that they heard Vince saying at one point cut the like Saudi feed. So basically they were doing a slight tape delay because the Saudis hadn't paid them, which I heard is an insane amount of like money that they still owe, which I believe is in the like nine figures, if I remember correctly. So it always comes down to the bottom dollar, doesn't it?
Yep.
And like it was so funny when they were talking about this. Gallows is like, man, they're going to be killing all of the like freaking mid cars, man. and then he said, he was like, oh, like Orton, I'm like, he's still here. we're good. They aren't going to be killing Randy Orton here. So I was like, man, they're killing all the freaking upper card guys. I was like, God damn. But all right, just seeing if I missed anything. Oh, and so, but one of the last things that they talked about was how their deal with Impact came about. Obviously, basically, they weren't going to be signing with all Elite Wrestling, especially after how things ended. And I also feel too, Matt, and we've talked about this, there was really no other spot for them, especially after they signed FTR. I feel like if they didn't sign FTR, that they probably signed Gallows and Anderson. But since that happened, pretty much Impact was the only other company was probably going to offer them US deals. But supposedly they also have the option to work over in Japan, which Anderson said, once things are back to somewhat of a normalcy, they're definitely going back over there. So that was some of the notes that I took. It was a very enlightening conversation. It just further reminds myself, man, that the creative atmosphere in WWE is still a freaking train wreck. It's a mess. This isn't any news. It's just getting very alarming that every person who seems to get cut by the company is saying the exact same thing. So it's a very broken thing that's going on there. It needs to change because you're seeing it from basically everyone who gets cut. They are so happily, psychologically, more so than anything, that they're finally out of there. Because you can just tell it's draining for them. And I'm happy for the guys. And like sat and asked them, would there ever be a chance that you would ever go back? And basically Anderson said it would take a lot for us to go back. They're really pissed how they were fired because they were saying, yeah, and like, did you hear what like Cornette said about them getting fired?
I might have missed it. I don't remember.
Yeah, basically, he was like, man, if that was me, I would have been grabbing a like baseball bat and yeah. So but basically they said that with like Vince, he sent out a like 5-minute video email out to everyone in the company and said, hey, some cuts are happening. And like Gallows and Anderson are like, you know what? We just signed what? 7 months ago and signed a 5-year deal. We're good. And on top of that, they were in the most important program at WrestleMania. They're like, there's no way that they're going to cut us. So Anderson, he picks up the phone and it's Mark Carano. He was like, hey man, what's going on? And like he was like, bad news, buddy. He was like, I understand it. It's like business. And then he calls Gallows. He was like, he was like, hey man, I got to talk to you about something. He was like, about what? And he was like, sorry man, we gotta let you go. He was like, I mean, like you could tell both guys were just stunned. And obviously when AJ found out he was about to kill some people, probably Paul Heyman if he was in any sort of range with him. So wow, it's a very interesting lesson. But man, those two guys are just so damn entertaining, and Gallows just getting more and more drunk while this thing was going on was hilarious. I vividly enjoyed that. But wow, that was a lot that we talked about.
Yes, an hour and a half.
Yeah. Amen. But
news.
Yeah, news is news. Yeah, guys. So as always, this is going to cap it for this week's reaction show. We're going to be back this Saturday for our episode number 50. It's going to be a very retroactive podcast, but also but also
I don't know.
words escaping right now. But we're also going to be discussing some other things as well, and something pertaining to Pennsylvania and the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm cutting a heel promo when we talk about that. So we're going to be definitely touch on that. Also NFL and COVID. That's all is getting started as well. And there are some other topics I definitely wanted to touch on as well. So it's going to be a really fun podcast, I feel, this weekend. So you're definitely going to want to tune into that. But as always, follow our Twitter page. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and as always, we will be having the podcast live on the page this Saturday and every Wednesday for the AEW Dynamite and NXT reaction show. So for Matt and for myself, everyone have a good night.